Have you ever wondered why every living creature has an innate urge to survive and reproduce? It's a profound question that touches the essence of life and existence. The story of life on Earth is one of survival and reproduction, a tale that has been unfolding for about 4 billion years. In this vast timeline, every single organism in your lineage, dating back to the very first life form, has successfully navigated the challenges of its environment long enough to reproduce. This isn't limited to your human ancestors, but extends to all sorts of creatures that were part of your lineage, stretching across tens of millions of generations. They all survived, they all reproduced, and they all passed on the torch of life to the next generation. In essence, you are the latest link in an unbroken chain of survivors and reproducers. Let's dive into the fascinating journey of survival and reproduction from the first life form to the present. Around 4 billion years ago, life began as simple single-celled organisms in a chemical soup. Picture the early Earth, a vastly different place than the world we know today. It was a hot, volatile environment with a thick atmosphere filled with carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and water vapor. In the oceans of this ancient world, a remarkable event occurred. In this primordial soup, a combination of simple organic compounds came together to form the first protocells, the precursors to modern cells. These protocells were rudimentary, but they had the beginnings of what we would recognize as life. They were equipped with a simple metabolism that allowed them to take in nutrients from their environment and convert them into energy. They had a protective membrane that kept the outside world at bay and the inside world safe and secure. And most importantly, they had the basic ability to reproduce. Reproduction in these early life forms was a straightforward affair. When a cell had enough resources, it would simply split into two, creating a perfect copy of itself. This process, known as binary fission, is still used by many single-celled organisms today, but reproduction wasn't just about making more cells, it was also about passing on genetic information. These early cells contained rudimentary genetic material, the blueprints for life. Every time a cell divided, it passed on these blueprints to its offspring, ensuring that the traits that helped it survive and thrive would be carried on to the next generation. This process of reproduction set the stage for the evolution of more complex life forms. As cells reproduced, small errors in the copying of genetic material introduced variation into the population. Over time, those variations that conferred a survival advantage were favored by natural selection. This is how the first multicellular organisms, the first plants, the first animals, and ultimately, us humans came to be. With the ability to reproduce, these organisms set the foundation for the incredible diversity of life we see today. The story of life is a story of survival and reproduction, a story that began 4 billion years ago in a simple chemical soup. As life evolved, so did the strategies for survival and reproduction. From the simplest single-celled organisms to the most complex multicellular beings, survival and reproduction have been the driving forces of evolution. Over billions of years, life has developed an astonishing array of strategies to ensure that these two fundamental processes continue. Let's start with bacteria. These microscopic marvels reproduce by splitting in half, a process known as binary fission. This allows them to multiply rapidly, colonizing new environments and outcompeting other organisms. But bacteria don't just rely on sheer numbers. They've also developed ways to share genetic information like plasmids, which can carry genes that help bacteria survive in harsh conditions or resist antibiotics. As we move up the complexity ladder, we find more intricate survival and reproduction strategies. Take insects, for example. Their hard exoskeletons protect them from physical harm and dehydration, while their impressive reproductive rates help ensure their continued existence. Some insects, like bees and ants, have even evolved complex social structures, where only a select few individuals reproduce, but the entire colony works together for survival. In the ocean, we find creatures like the octopus, which displays remarkable intelligence and adaptability, changing its color and shape to evade predators. When it comes to reproduction, the female octopus lays thousands of eggs, protecting them until they hatch, even at the cost of her own life. And then we have us, humans. We've developed our own unique survival strategy, relying on our intelligence and ability to manipulate the environment. Our reproductive strategies are more nuanced, with a heavy focus on nurturing a few offspring over a long period, ensuring they reach maturity and can reproduce themselves. Throughout these examples, one thing is clear. Survival and reproduction are not separate processes, but intertwined aspects of life's grand evolutionary journey. Each organism's strategy is a product of its environment and evolutionary history, shaped by countless generations of trial and error, success, and failure. The evolution of survival and reproduction strategies has led to the incredible variety of life forms we see today. If we trace your lineage, we can see a complete chain of survivors and reproducers all the way back to these first life forms. The fascinating journey of human evolution is a testament to the power and persistence of survival and reproduction. Let's take a step back about 7 million years ago, when the lineage that led to US Homo sapiens split from that of our closest living relatives, the chimpanzees. Over these vast swaths of time, our ancestors developed traits and behaviors that enhanced survival and reproduction, shaping our species in the process. The advent of bipedalism, walking on 2 feet, freed our hands for tool use, providing a survival edge in the challenging environments of the Pliocene epoch. Later, the growth of our brains gave rise to complex thought, language and social structures, further enhancing our survival chances. But survival isn't the endgame. It's all about reproduction. The evolutionary process doesn't favor the strongest or the smartest, but those who pass on their genes most effectively. This is why, for instance, we find peacocks with extravagant, energy-consuming tails. They may not be the most practical for survival, but they are attractive to peahens, ensuring the reproduction of these genes. The same principle holds true for humans. Traits that increased reproductive success have been passed down, generation after generation. These range from physical traits to behaviors and social structures that promote successful child rearing. Human evolution has been a complex interplay of survival and reproduction, shaped by changing environments, chance events, and the innovative spark of our species. The evolutionary process has honed us not for perfection but for survival and reproduction in the ever-changing landscapes of our planet. So the next time you marvel at the human capacity for innovation, love, or endurance, remember, these traits have been shaped by millions of years of survival and reproduction. They are the legacy of countless generations who not only survived but also successfully passed on their genes. So the urge to survive and reproduce is deeply embedded in our genes, passed down from generation to generation. In today's world, survival and reproduction still play a crucial role in shaping life on Earth. Survival, in the 21st century, may not look like escaping a saber-toothed tiger or finding shelter from a storm, but it's no less important. For many species, survival is about navigating the complex challenges posed by a rapidly changing environment. It's about adapting to shifts in climate, to the encroachment of human development, and to the spread of diseases. Reproduction, too, has its modern-day challenges. Many species face obstacles to successful mating, whether it's due to a dwindling population, loss of habitat, or changes in mating behaviors. Yet reproduction remains a vital cog in the wheel of life. It's the mechanism by which species pass on their genes, ensuring their lineage continues and evolves. Understanding these concepts of survival and reproduction is not just a fascinating exploration of biology, it's also a critical component of conservation and sustainability efforts. Recognizing the pressures and obstacles that species face in surviving and reproducing can help us devise ways to mitigate these challenges. Whether it's through habitat restoration, breeding programs, or legislation to protect endangered species, understanding the intricacies of survival and reproduction can guide these efforts. Moreover, this knowledge can foster a greater appreciation for the resilience and adaptability of life. It can remind us of our own place in the grand tapestry of existence, as one link in a chain of survivors and reproducers stretching back billions of years. It can inspire us to act as stewards of the planet, safeguarding not only our own survival and reproduction, but the survival and reproduction of all life on Earth. As we continue to evolve, survival and reproduction will remain central to life on Earth. So, how do living things know they need to survive and reproduce? We've journeyed from the beginnings of life, through the evolution of survival and reproduction, traced our human lineage, and examined how these instincts govern our lives today. The answer is deeply embedded in our genetic code, an unbroken chain of survival and reproduction stretching back 4 billion years. Every organism, from the simplest bacteria to the most complex human, carries within it the compulsion to survive, to reproduce, to propagate its genes. These instincts are not conscious choices, but the result of billions of years of evolution. They are the echoes of countless generations who not only survived long enough to reproduce, but whose offspring did the same. Next time you ponder about life, remember, Your existence is the product of billions of years of survivors and reproducers. Isn't that something to marvel at?